Hey there, everybody. Hope your Friday or your weekend, depending on whenever you're watching this, is going well for you. Just wanted to chat with y'all this morning to discuss our analytical report part one. Now, last week in our Friday sections, we all chatted about part two of our analytical report, which could be thought of as our end destination or goal, that final report where we are headed. Just wanted to present that to y'all first. You had the lay of the land, the idea of our trajectory and where we're headed over the next few weeks with that major assignment. Today we're going to backtrack a little bit and talk about part one, which obviously will come before part two, in hopes that it will give us some information and some dedicated time for us to think about some of the pieces and planning components that will help us have a successful and effective analytical report at the end of this time. So you're welcome to follow along on this video. I'll go ahead and pull up the assignment description as we chat through this, but for your reference later when you're trying to track this down to work on it, simply if you're on the homepage for AdCom 400, if you travel down to our week 9 module, it is housed here under assignments due because this is due next Friday, October 25th. So we'll have about a week's time to work on this. All right, so if we open up our assignment, we'll see that it's called our topic memo and references. So much like we discussed in Wednesday's class, we're going to be writing a memo that conveys our topic for our analytical report, goes a little bit more in depth with some other information, and we're going to start to pull from those references that we plan to use in our final report. So all of our information up here tells us how this is connected to our overall course objectives, lets you know our individual objectives for this assignment, and then we jump into the description. So we should have already selected our ag, food, or natural resource topic that we submitted in our assignment either Wednesday earlier this week or today for certain sections, and our teaching team lead should get back to us with our approval about that. But now we're going to start to think about taking that topic one step further. So in preparation, we're going to identify that topic, also develop our purpose and research questions that we plan to use in that final analytical report, and identify the audience that we're going to be writing to. From there, we're going to locate and annotate at least 5 of our sources that we plan to use in our final analytical report. So what this will look like is we'll draft up that memo, making sure that we have all those components that we talked about from Wednesday's class. So the date that you're going to turn it in, to whoever the lead is for your section, make sure to address them and use that comma followed by their title. From insert your name here, and then subject, analytical report topic, and references will work just fine for that. Now within your memo, we obviously want it to be concise and to the point, but here are the points that we will be sure to address. 1, go back and restate your topic. Give us a brief summary of that. Then outline for us the purpose statement you have drafted up for your analytical report. From there, your supporting research questions. That could be 1 or 2 questions probably would be sufficient for the length of our final report that we're going to be doing. We probably wouldn't have much space with only doing 2 to 3 pages in that final report to cover much more than 1 or 2 research questions. And then from there, we're going to identify that primary audience that we intend to address and why we selected them. If you think back to the day when we evaluated and critiqued that analytical report in class, a lot of us said, I think they were a little confused on who their audience was and weren't really writing to a specific audience. So we're going to identify who that audience is for us, why they're chosen, and that can hopefully start to lead our thinking down a path of how that might impact our writing and communication that will show up in that final report for us. So that outlines everything that goes in your memo. From there, we're going to jump into our references. If you're familiar with an annotated bibliography, that's kind of how this is going to play out for us. The memo and references can all be included in one document or one file that you'll submit for this assignment, but you can just think of starting that reference portion on another page. And so we're going to include a minimum of 5 of the identified sources that you plan to use for your analytical report. 3 of those must be scholarly or peer-reviewed sources, keeping in mind what we talked about Monday in class on what actually constitutes for a peer-reviewed source. For the purposes of just this annotated bibliography, you're going to go ahead and list out what is the type of source that you're using here. Is that a peer-reviewed journal? Is it a book? Is it a government report? Whatever that might be, that will help us as the teaching team when we move on to this next piece. Make sure that you're putting in the correct APA style reference for that source, and by you letting us know what it is for this planning part, we can ensure that you're on the right track with your references and formatting those correctly. All right, now that's pretty traditional. From there, since this is an annotated bibliography, the next step that you'll do is include an annotation for each of these 5 sources. That just means you're gonna put a quick few sentences, a paragraph at most, under each of these sources that outlines what was the main focus or purpose of that work that you read, and then also what is its usefulness or relevance to your research topic. So when you come back to this, when you're crafting that final report, how is this source specifically going to help you? In addition, in today's materials, there is more information about creating your APA reference list and how to create an annotated bibliography. But we'll also talk more about resources here in just a second. We have some traditional formatting requirements, so we'll want to make sure that we meet. Also proofreading, making sure we're free from grammatical and mechanical errors. And then we have kind of this laundry list of resources that are at our disposal. This is highlighting everything that is in the textbook that might help us with the assignment, and also things that we talked about in class, the date that we talked about them, and where they can be found on Canvas. So all of those are highlighted for us. In addition, for APA style, we have some links to some external sources. And as I mentioned just a moment ago, in today's materials, there's more references for APA style and how to craft an annotated bibliography. From there, we pull up our rubric. You'll notice that this assignment is out of 25 points for us. Just going through, did we identify the topic, provide that brief summary, all of that good stuff. A large chunk of our points here come from our purpose and research questions, and so just making sure that each of those meets all of that criteria. And if you need some refreshers on that, there's some information up here about refreshing our mindset on our research purpose statement and questions and where we can find that. Identifying our primary audience, then jumping into those sources and citations, having the annotation for each of those sources, and then we have our formatting and writing requirements. As you dig into this assignment over the next week, should you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or to the TA for your section and let us know how we can help you out.